Then we move to talk about the second category of library, that is the digital or electronic library. And what did you say the digital or electronic library is? Who can remember what we talked about concerning the digital or electronic library? Hello?
Hi, sir.
Hi,
Yes, sir.
sir.
I'm asking, we are having a recap of what we discussed last week. And I'm saying that we started with the categories or forms of libraries. And I said there are three categories of libraries: the traditional, the electronic or digital, and the hybrid. So we discussed what a traditional library is, looking at the advantages and the disadvantages. And I said we talked about the second category of library, that is the digital or electronic library. And what did I say a digital or electronic library is? Any volunteer?
So you said digital libraries are the ones that each collections are stored in digital formats.
Thank you. Any other person? Any other? Hello?
Yeah, sir, you said digital library. Let the information are stored electronically.
Okay. Then we looked at the disadvantages of the digital library or the electronic library. Then finally, we ended at the hybrid library. And what is a hybrid library? What did we say a hybrid library is?
So the hybrid
It's
library have both information and resource stored in the print and non-print form. That's both the traditional way and the digital way.
Thank you. Any other? Any other person? The hybrid. So with the
it's a
hybrid, I said,
combination.
okay. Madam, go ahead. Madam, go ahead with the hybrid library.
It's basically a combination of the two. That is the traditional library and then the electronic library.
Thank you. So when we're talking about a hybrid library, I said it's a library that has its information resources in both print and non-print formats. So by this, we mean that it is a library that has some of its operations or services, such as acquisition, cataloging, and circulation, are performed with the aid of what? Computer technology.
Computer
Okay, so
technology.
this implies that the users of hybrid library have access to physical collections as well as what? The digital collections, that's the electronic resources. Is that clear? And you should also bear in mind that in such libraries, they normally use the online public access catalog. With the online public access catalog, it is a library catalog that has multiple access. So here, if you want to access information using the online public access catalog, into bracket OPAC, that one, it has multiple access. You can access the information using the author's name, the title of the book or the material, the year of publication, the international standard book number, the international standard serial number, as well as the series. Okay, these are the access points that will assist you as a user to retrieve information using the online public access catalog. Then we talked about the advantages and the disadvantages. Now, today or this morning, we're going to look at a new topic altogether, and we're going to look at reference materials. Now, I believe you've all heard of or you've all read dictionary before. Have you all used dictionary before? A dictionary?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes. And I believe you've also seen an atlas or map before. Have you also seen an atlas or a map before?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So all these
Yes.
that I've mentioned, they fall under one category or term called reference materials. And why are they called reference material? They are called reference materials because users retrieve such information easily, or they consult such material quickly to get information out of it. Now, we're saying that resources in libraries include general reference books, such as encyclopedia, dictionaries, atlases, and directories. And we're saying that out of these reference materials too, we have textbooks on various subject areas, we have novels, we have periodicals, we have electronic resources. Now, these resources that are in the library, okay, they may be in the form of print and non-print materials. Now, this course is going to introduce you to the print resources. So listen attentively. Now, library reference resources are grouped into two. Library reference resources, they are grouped into two. The first one is that we have the directional search tools. Directional search tools. Then the second one is the source type. I said library reference resources are essentially grouped into two. We have the directional search tools and the source type resources. Now, what is a directional search tool? When we say a directional search tool, as the name even implies, direct or point to the reader where other information or materials can be found. I'm taking it again. The directional search tools, I'm saying that they direct or point to the user or the reader where information can be found. So here, what we are saying is that with a directional search tool, they really direct or point to you where materials can be found in the library. Examples of such directional search tools are indexes, abstracts, and bibliography. Now, the reason why we say that they are directional search tools is that they point to the reader where information can be found, but they do not contain the actual information. And that's why we're saying that they are directional search tools. They are really directing you, the user, where information can be found, but they do not contain the actual information unless you visit or attend to such vicinity or area or location before you can have access to. So an example, I say we have bibliographies. When we say a bibliography is simply a name that is given to a list of books, manuscripts, and other publications that are systematically or alphabetically arranged and described, and they have some relationship with each other. I'm taking it again. I said when we say a bibliography, it is, or the term bibliography originated from the Greek word that is bibliographia, which means book writing. So when we say a bibliography, it is a name that is given to a list of books, manuscripts, and other publications that are systematically or alphabetically described and which have some relationship with each other. Many a times, people often use bibliography to interchange it with references. Why? Because it contains the name and the titles and even the year of which a book was being published. Now, when we say abstract, I made mention that directional search tools, the examples I gave is bibliographies. So I'm explaining those examples, bibliographies. I've explained that. Then we said another example is what? Indexes. When we say an index indicates where information can be found rather than provide the information. In other words, an index is a control or directional control of materials which serve as a guide to the content of a document. I'm taking it again. I said an index indicates where information can be found rather than provide the information. In other words, they serve as directional publications to where information can be found. Then, what then is an abstract? An abstract, many a times, I believe you've all read novels, books, and other materials. And even if you are doing a project or before you read a book, at the back page of the book or even the front page before you read the book, it tries to give you a gist or a summary of a content of a document. So by this, we are referring to it as what? An abstract. You realize what are the days? Those of you who have been reading storybooks or novels, you realize that before you read them, it tries to give you a summary at the back of the book or even the front page of the book. So with this, the summary of the content of the book is what we refer to as what? An abstract. So when you say an abstract gives full bibliographic details. It gives full bibliographic details. When we're talking about a bibliographic details of a document, we are looking at the author, the title, the year of publication, the publisher, and the ISBN numbers. These are bibliographic details of a document or books. So whenever you visit a library or any information center and you want to search or look for a particular book, okay, it is the bibliographic details of the information that will assist even the librarian to what? Also direct you to where to what? Locate the information. So I'm saying that the abstract, okay, gives a full bibliographic details as in the case of what? An index. And in addition, it gives you a brief summary of the content of the document. So you should bear in mind that when we're talking about an abstract, it gives a summary, that's a brief summary of the content of a document. Exactly. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Then, what then is the source type? So you should bear in mind that the directional, they direct you to the information, but they do not contain what? The actual information. However, the source type resources, they are those ones that contain the needed information. The source type resources, they contain the what? Information needed or the needed information. So examples of these source type resources are dictionaries, encyclopedia, journals, and thesaurus. I believe you've all heard of dictionaries, you've heard of encyclopedia. Have you heard of thesaurus before? What is a thesaurus? A thesaurus. What is a thesaurus? Hello? Hello,
Sir.
class.
Yes, sir.
When
Sir,
yeah,
please.
have you heard of that?
Sir, please. It is a book. It is in the form of a book or an electronic device. An electronic device that lists words in the form of like synonyms and antonyms and related concepts.
That's fine. Any other person? Thesaurus. Hello? Any other contribution? Okay, so madam has said it. So a thesaurus is a book or electronic resource that lists words in groups of synonyms and other related what concepts. That is a thesaurus. Okay. Now, so what I want you to know is that when we say library, I'm saying that library reference resources, they are grouped into two. We have the directional search tools. So with the directional search tools, I said earlier that they direct or point to the reader where information can be found, but they do not what contain the needed information. An example, I said we have what do you call it? Bibliographies, indexes, and abstracts. Then we said the source type resources, they contain the needed information. So example, we have dictionaries, encyclopedia, journals, and thesaurus. Now let's look at, so like I said, for the purpose of our study, we're going to look at the printed ones. That's the dictionaries, encyclopedia, and what have you. Now, let's look at, they all form one terminology or concept known as reference materials. So now let's look at what reference materials are. When we say reference materials, we're saying reference materials or reference sources contain facts that has been brought together from many sources and organized for quick and easy use. I'm taking it again. When we say reference materials or reference sources, they are materials or sources that contain facts that have been brought together from many sources and organized for quick and easy use. Now let's take a typical example like a dictionary. You can't have one particular person or individual saying that he or she wrote the entire dictionary. No. They take the definitions or words from various fields and various experts. Okay? Those who have the expertise in other fields, they all bring the words or meanings or even the pronunciation, okay? Then they compile it and it becomes a document. That's why we're saying that they contain information that has been brought together from many sources, organized for quick and easy use. So they get it from various sources, and they bring it together as a book where individual can have quick and easy access to such information. Now, according to Aina in the year 2004, he also explained reference materials as documents that contain information on any topic, be it an event or a person. So according to Aina in the year 2004, reference sources are documents that contain information on any topic, be it an event or a person. So he's also explaining, according to Aina, okay, he's one professor at the University of Nigeria. He also explained reference materials as documents that contain information on any topic, be it an event or a person. So any document that contains information on any topic, whether sociology, chemistry, physics, or any other thing that comes in mind, we refer to such document as what? A reference material or reference sources. Now, let's look at the arrangement of reference materials. Okay. Now we have 5 ways of arranging these reference materials. So the reference materials, I said, we'll be discussing dictionaries, we'll look at encyclopedia, we'll look at yearbooks, we'll look at directories, we'll look at periodicals and what have you. They are all reference material. So we are now looking at how they are arranged. So we're saying that we have 5 ways of arranging reference sources or reference materials. So the first one is that reference materials are arranged in an alphabetical form. Reference materials, they are arranged in alphabetical form. Example is dictionaries and encyclopedia. So you realize that when you pick a dictionary or an encyclopedia, the words or the information in them are arranged in that alphabetical form. So that's from A to Z. Okay, so the words that makes up that dictionary or an encyclopedia, they are arranged in alphabetical form, starting from A to Z. Exactly. Then secondly, we said reference materials are arranged in tabular forms as found in mathematical and statistical work. So we are saying that we have some reference materials that are also arranged in tables. Okay, so we're saying that in a form of, so once they are arranged in tables, we are looking at whether are arranged using statistical works or mathematical works. You know that some are also arranged in that order. Then we're saying that another arrangement is that reference materials can be arranged in regional form, such as maps and atlases. So on regional basis, you realize that some reference materials are arranged in regional basis. So when you pick a map, for instance, map of Ghana, you realize that when you look at map of Ghana, out of the 16 regions, they are arranged. When you look at the map, you will know where each region is located. And even the same thing applies to atlases. The atlas, they are also arranged based on that order. Then we're saying that reference materials are arranged in chronological form. When you say something is arranged in chronological form, we are looking at the period that such event happened. So example, as in the case of the Bible and history books. So you realize that when you pick the Bible, okay, the Bible was arranged in that chronological form. That's the period that's some major event happened. A typical example again is history books. The date, the period that such event happened. Okay, for instance, you know that the First World War started from what? Is it 1914 to 1918? Then the Second World War started from 1939 to 1945. So it's history that will tell you that this is how the thing happened, or the major activities that took place during that time. So we're saying that reference materials are also arranged in that chronological form. So when we're talking about the chronological form, we are looking at the period that such event happened. Then again, we said reference materials are also classified according to some features or characteristics. So example, we are looking at bibliographies and directories. So we realize that, for instance, a bibliography, you know, I explained earlier that a bibliography is a name that is given to a list of books, manuscripts, and other publications that are systematically arranged and described, and which have some relationship with each other. Now, the characteristics under bibliography, it can be either the title of the book or the material that you've consulted. It can also be either the publisher of such material. So that is a characteristic or a feature of a bibliography that you can use, or even the name of the author. Then looking at directories, we say a directory is the listing of people, institutions, companies, organizations in an alphabetical or classified order, okay, giving the names, the telephone numbers, and addresses of a particular person, institution, or organization. So the characteristics or the features of directory, you can talk about the name or the location of that directory, the telephone number, or even the website address. So we're saying that we have some reference materials that are also classified based on certain features or characteristics. Exactly. Hello?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Please, I hope you are following.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
All
Yes,
right,
sir.
thank you. All right, now let's look at the characteristics of reference materials. So we're saying that one of the characteristics of reference material is that they are meant to be consulted in the library. So you realize that, as the name even implies, when we say reference materials, we say that they are meant to be consulted in the library. So such materials, okay, they are for reference only. You consult it in the library. You don't take it outside the library. So once you need a particular information, let's say in a dictionary, you visit the library, you look at the words that you are looking for, you go through it, and you send it back to, or hand it over back to the librarian or the information professional at any information center. So you should bear in mind that they are meant to be consulted in the library. You just consult it in the library, and that is all. But then we have instances where some people can also buy their personal dictionary or an encyclopedia. But in general perspective, we are saying that one of the characteristics is that they are meant to be consulted in the library. So such books You don't take it outside the library. You just read them. And you visit any library, we keep those materials in an appropriate shelf. We don't mix them with the normal textbooks. So you have a section where we've written reference only, or not to be taken out, or not to be borrowed. So reference material, you cannot borrow such material. You need to just consult the information that you need, you just read it, and you send it back to the librarian. The second characteristic is that reference materials are not meant to be read from cover to cover. Who can explain that point? We say that reference materials are not meant to be read from cover to cover.
Sir, please, I think the exact thing that you need, you go directly in referring to it. So you don't need to read the entire book or the material.
Thank you. Any other? Today the ladies are in the building, the gentlemen are outside the building. My gentlemen.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
So as my sister say, it's meant to be. For example, if you are looking for a word encyclopedia, you are to just move straight to the word and search. You don't need to start from the day one and then open and then read now till the time you get to the word encyclopedia. So it is not meant to read from cover to cover.
Thank you. I need a last person.
Yes, sir.
Yes, my
Yes,
brother.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. The reason I think it's not allowed to read from cover to cover is that maybe if, for instance, once it's a reference book, if it's be allowed to be given to one fellow to read from cover to cover, it might delay, because reference books, mostly there are not many, so it might delay others from having or having their references being done. So it's just a short period in which will be allowed to be used. If you are to allow them, it might delay others too. That's how I understand it.
All right, thank you. That is correct. All the answers given are correct. So, like we said, they are not meant to be read from cover to cover. Nobody can say that he or she can memorize or read the entire dictionary or an encyclopedia. You can tend, or you might tend to forget. It's only Jesus Christ and Muhammad who can do that, or Almighty God. So, for instance, like we said, when you visit a library, a dictionary, the word or what you are looking for is what you open and read. Then you leave the rest. You can't just say, unlike reference materials are not like normal textbooks that you say you can even read and memorize everything. Even the normal textbook, you can even tend to forget certain portion of it. But dictionary, you cannot read from A to Z. So depending on the information that you need from such material, that is where you visit and read such information, and you leave the book back to, or you give the book back to the said library or information center. So you can't read from cover to cover, from page by page, okay? But then where you need a particular word that you want to know the meaning or the spelling of it, you just refer to it, and that is all. Thank you. So the third one is that the third characteristics of reference material is that they are housed or stored in separate sections of the library, such as the reference section. I said earlier the time I was defining or explaining reference materials, unlike the normal textbooks that you visit any library, that you can find them displayed in an appropriate shelf, reference materials are not like that. They are kept somewhere that if you need a particular information, that is when you ask the librarian, then the person can either direct or get such information to you. So we don't mix reference materials to the other textbooks that you may find in most libraries. So we have a separate place or room that we place these reference materials at. And such place and the books are for reference only. You cannot take it or borrow it outside the library. Another characteristics of reference material is that they are revised from time to time so as to keep abreast with recent development. They are revised from time to time so as to keep abreast with recent development. So you realize that day in, day out, we get different meaning or different words. So when some words comes in mind, coming from the expert in particular discipline, they also have to put it into writing. So at times you realize that, for example, dictionary, you realize that we have some dictionary that were published, let's say, by Macmillan Publishers, let's say in 2025, as let's say a first edition. So you realize that maybe 2026, they can also have a revised or a second edition of such dictionary. So meaning, when we say revised, meaning they have either added new words to the existing ones that we had earlier. So at times you realize that you have some books or other material, you have first edition, second edition, third edition, fifth edition, up to the last edition. So meaning that as and when necessary, they what? Revise the information from time to time so as to keep abreast with recent development. Then the last characteristics of reference material is that a library usually buys a copy, or in rare cases two, because they tend to be what? Expensive. So you realize that we're saying that unlike the normal textbooks, that the prices are a bit affordable. Some reference materials are very expensive to purchase. So at times, even 10 textbooks can buy one reference material. So they are very expensive. So they normally buy few copies, or the library normally have few copies in their disposal. And one of your colleagues even made mention that they are very expensive, so they are few in numbers. So you just refer to where you need a particular information, and that will be all. So that is the end of the characteristics. I said we have 5 of them. The first one, I said reference materials are meant to be consulted in the library. The second one is that reference materials are not meant to be read from cover to cover. The third one, I'm saying that reference materials are housed or placed in separate sections of the library. The fourth one is that reference materials, reference materials are revised from time to time so as to keep abreast with recent development. And lastly, we're saying that a library usually buys a copy, or in rare cases two, because they tend to be expensive. Now let's look at evaluating a reference material. Now, before you purchase or you go in for reference material, there's the need for you to assess whether the book meets the international standard. Okay, so evaluating has to do with assessing or judging the worth of something. So we are not saying that, or most reference materials, before you purchase them, there is the need for you to evaluate the information and its sources critically, so that you realize that, oh, this book is authentic, this book is accurate, so therefore I can use them. So we have 5 ways of evaluating a reference material. Please hold on, I'm coming. We have 5 ways of evaluating reference material. Please hold on just a minute. All right, so the first one is that you must consider the date and edition of the publication. So when you are going to purchase reference material, we are saying that you must consider the date and edition of publication. So by this, what we are trying to say here is that if you are to visit any bookshop or to purchase reference material, you need to consider the date that the book was being published. So for instance, I made mention that they are revised from time to time so as to keep abreast with recent development. So realize that day in, day out, they come out with new works. So once there's a revised version, you should know that the revised version may contain information that is more detailed than the old one. So let's say a reference material was even purchased in 2010. You should know that it's outdated. So you should go in for the current one. The current one. So by this, we are looking at the date that the book was being published. Then the edition. Like I said earlier, most books, you can understand the book, whether it's current, based on the edition. So looking at the edition, like I said, we have first edition, second edition, third edition. So by the edition, you're going to know that this book is current than, or let's say a third edition book will be more current than a first edition. So the date and edition of when the book was being published is very important when you are purchasing or acquiring a reference material. The second one has to be with the scope of the work. Now, when we're talking about the scope of the work, we are looking at the preface that introduces the author or the publication to the reader, and it gives reasons for writing the book, the intended audience, and explains the arrangement. Now, you realize that with the scope of the work, every author, okay, has a motive or reason for writing a book. And again, the book that you are writing, you should target some audience, some people or the users who are to use the book. And again, the book should be well arranged with symbols as well as abbreviations as some special features that is to be used in the book. Now, when we're talking about the scope again with material, we're saying that the scope of the material may include the geographical location, the language, and the period or time. I'm taking it again. The scope of a material may include the geographical location, the language, or the period or time. Now, when we're talking about the geographical boundary or location, now what we are saying here is that once you are writing a book, okay, you, the author or the publisher, you need to look at the geographical location of the audience or your target group. Other than that, it's going to be very difficult for people to purchase the book. So let's say if you are coming out with a book, if it's a farming community, you should know that I'm not saying we don't have educated people around the rural areas. What I'm trying to say here is that when you visit a place, okay, or the urban areas, you realize that most of them are into books more than those farming communities. I'm not saying again that the farming communities, we don't have educated people there. But I realize that if you are coming out with the book, the number of people who purchase them, looking at the urban areas and the rural areas, you realize that the urban areas, a lot of people will purchase the books more than the rural areas. So the geographical location is a factor. Then again, still another scope, the language. The language barrier is very important as far as you are coming out with a book or a document. So by language, for instance, we Ghanaians, we are an English-speaking country. So you, the author coming out with a book, you need to consider the language that we speak. If you publish a dictionary or an encyclopedia, and you use a language like French or let's say Spanish, the probability of people purchasing the book will be low as compared to you making the book in an English form. or publishing the words using the Queen's language. That's the English language. So it's very important that the language is a factor when you are coming out with a book or other material. Then again, the last one under the scope is the period or the time. Now, with the period and the time too, is very important because one of the characteristics, the characteristics that we say they are revised from time to time. So it's very important that the books or other materials that you, the author, you are coming out with, the information or most of the information should be current. If the books or if the book is, let's say, history, like history books, that one, you can't avoid certain dates, okay? But then, if it's not history and you are coming out with other discipline, you should use the current date or period that you are coming out with such information. It's very important. Now, another way for evaluating reference material is...
Sir, please, my hand is up, please.
Okay.
And sir, please, with the geographical location, can you please elaborate more on it for me?
Okay, colleagues, what did I say about the geographical location? I know some of your colleagues were following, unless maybe they will tell me they were not following what we are doing. The geographical location of boundary. Who had something?
You said when one is producing a book or reference, once you're evaluating a reference, one thing they look at is the area of choice. And you make a reference to rural areas and urban areas. Supposing you are publishing a book or an article and you are placing it in the rural areas, how do you call purchases will be low than the urban areas. Not that they don't school, but the interest or the attention will not be on
Thank
your
you.
book.
I like that. The interest or attention.
Than you putting it in the urban areas.
Thank you very much, my brother. My sister, I don't know whether you are clear now.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Are you sure?
Yes, please.
If you are not clear, somebody can come in and also explain still under the location or the geographical area. Who can also add something up under the geographical area or location? For my sister to understand it clearly. Who can also volunteer, please? Any other person to volunteer?
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, my brother. Yes, sir.
Sir Thomas, it's very simple. What our lecturer is trying to say is that you cannot go and sell pig or pork at the Zongo. No one will buy. No, the patronage will be low. You cannot go and sell pork at the Zongo. Everybody knows that Zongo people mostly don't take pork.
Okay.
So the interest of taking it will be low. They will not participate in taking it. So whenever you are publishing a book, make sure where you are selling it, the people have interest in buying it. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you too. Thank you. My sister, are you now clear?
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, my sister. All right. Please, if you don't understand anything, don't feel shy. Just ask. We are all in the learning process, okay? Don't feel shy that your colleagues will say that you don't understand. No, just get understanding clear. That's all. Now, I said the fourth way for evaluating reference material is the comprehensiveness of the document. So here, when we're talking about the comprehensiveness, we are looking at whether the information that you have come out with, does it relate to the issues or the topics that you want to deal with. Many a times you realize that when you purchase a book and you even check the table of content, the table of content has the topics or the issues that are discussed in relation to the intended audience. You realize that you check, let's say, page 1, it's an introduction. Page 2, let's say reference material. You turn to page 2 and there's a different thing altogether there. I don't know whether you've come across that before. That when you purchase books and other things, when you go to even the page, you don't even see those information there. Either it wasn't captured or something like that. I don't know whether some of you have come across that before. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah,
Have
sir.
you come across that before? That you even
Yes,
buy
sir.
a book like that, you go to the page that they say, oh, 10 to page 6, you find that you go, there's nothing there. So what we are saying here is that once you are purchasing a reference materials, you need to look at the comprehensiveness, okay, of the document in relation to the maximum coverage of the topics or issue discussed in relation to the intended audience. So how comprehensive is the document? Does it cover the topics or the issues that are discussed in the book? So it's very important that once you are acquiring or purchasing a reference material, you need to put into consideration the coverage of the topics or the issues that are discussed in relation to the intended audience. Is that clear? Is that point clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And the last way for evaluating reference material is accuracy. Accuracy. So when you say accuracy, what comes to mind? What is accuracy? When you say something is accurate, what comes to mind?
Being precise
Being precise.
or being authentic.
Being authentic.
Factual.
Factual. I like that.
Genuine.
All right. Genuine.
Exactly information.
Come again.
Exactly information.
Exactly.
Original.
Thank you.
Original.
Original.
You really
Point. Perfect.
All right.
Point.
All right, thank you. I like those answers coming from. So when we're talking about accuracy, we say that accuracy refers to the authenticity of the facts relevant to the subject. Accuracy refers to the authenticity of the facts relevant to the subject. So it's very important that you also have to look out to whether the information is genuine, whether it's factual. Okay. At times, how do you do that? You do that by looking at the reliability or the relevancy of such information. For information to be factual or reliable, at times you need to look at for the website or the URL of where you're getting or acquiring such information. These days, people, when they send information out there, they don't even check the outlet or where the information is even coming from. But for you to understand or know that this information is factual, you need to check on the reliability or the website of your source of information. Is very important. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are done with the reference material. Yes, madam.
Please, you said the materials are 5, but you gave us 4. You gave us the date and edition of the publication, the scope of work, comprehensiveness in relation of the subject, then accuracy. We left it 1. We have only 4.
I said the date.
Yes, I think you keep authoritativeness.
Didn't I talk about authoritativeness of the editor?
No, sir.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
The date and the edition of the publication.
So I said the date and edition of publication, the authoritativeness of the author, the editor, or the contributor's qualification. So it's very important that one was the one I didn't capture. The authoritativeness of the author, the editors, and the contributors' qualification is very important. So when you have to purchase a book or any reference material, you need to consider the authors or the contributors or the people who wrote that particular book. So at times, how do you do that? Or how do you get this information? At times, when you go online, you can read about the author or the person who really wrote the book. If the person is well versed in that particular area or field, and even the editors or those who contributed to the writing of the work. So the qualification, we are looking at his or her educational qualification and his contribution to the field. I mean, the chosen field, where he's writing the information from. I mean, the discipline that he or she is contributing to. So it's very important. So the reputation of the publisher is also important. That's why you realize that once upon a time, while we were young, you realize that most of these novels or story books were written by Macmillan publishers. You and I, we don't know Macmillan publication or publishers, but then people were purchasing these books. Why? Because they have authority in the content of what they are writing on. Exactly. And a typical example too is Akiola. You know, way back SHS, most people or all of us did core mathematics. So you realize that people were purchasing Akiola's core math books. Why? Because he has authority in the content of what he comes with or what he produces. You get it? So it's very important that you need to consider the authoritativeness of the author or authors, the editor or the editors, or the contributors' qualification. It's very important once you are purchasing a reference material. So in summary, with the evaluation of reference material, we're saying that you must put into consideration the date and edition of publication, the accuracy of the document, then the comprehensiveness of the work, then the authoritativeness of the work, and lastly, the scope of the work. Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I think today we discussed what reference materials are. So we say reference materials are materials that have been brought together from many sources, organized for quick and easy use. And INA in the year 2004 also defined reference material as reference sources that are devoted or that contain information on any topic, be it an event or a person. Then we look at the characteristics of reference material, and saying that one of the characteristics of reference material is that they are meant to be consulted in the library. 2, they are not meant to be read from cover to cover. 3, we're saying that they are housed or placed in separate sections of the library. 4, we're saying that they are revised from time to time so as to keep abreast with recent development. And the last one is that a library usually buys a copy, or in rare cases 2, because they tend to be expensive. Then we go ahead to look at the arrangement of these reference sources or reference material. And I said we have 5 ways of arranging reference material. I said 1, they are arranged in an alphabetical form. So example, we have dictionaries and an encyclopedia. You realize that dictionaries and encyclopedias are arranged in an alphabetical form. And we say some are also arranged in tables as found in mathematical and statistical works. Then we're saying reference materials are arranged in regional basis or regional form, such as maps and atlases. Then again, we said reference materials are arranged in a chronological form. So we're saying that when by chronological form, we are looking at the period that such event happened. So as in the case of the Bible and history books, they are arranged in that chronological form. Then lastly, we said reference materials are classified according to some features or characteristics, as in bibliographies and directories. Then finally, we look at evaluating reference material. And we said we have 5 ways of evaluating reference material. So we looked at the authoritativeness of the author or the authors, the editor or the editors. All contributors' qualification is very important. So we're saying that the reputation of the publisher is also important when you are evaluating a reference material. Then again, we say you should consider the date and edition of which the book was being published. It's also very important. Then again, you should also consider the scope of the work. So under the scope of the work, I said we have 3 factors that really affect that. So we talked about the geographical area or location. Then we look at the language, and finally we look at the period or the time. Then we also talked about the comprehensiveness in relation to the maximum coverage of the topics discussed in relation to the intended audience. So you should also consider that one. And lastly, we said accuracy. And by accuracy, I said accuracy refers to the authenticity of the facts relevant to the subject. So, ladies and gentlemen, this unit discuss what reference materials are. Then we also looked at the arrangement and the characteristics and ways of evaluating these reference materials. So I believe you've learned something today. Please, God willing, next week I'll give you an individual assignment.
Please, I have a question, sir.
Okay, my brother.
Please, my question has to do with evaluating a reference material. Please, can you consider the durability of the material as well?
The durability, yes, is also important. But for the purpose of our study, what we are limiting you guys are these 5. I'm not saying the durability is not correct. It is. But let's concentrate on the ones that are in our course book. That maybe once we ask you in your quizzes or your exam, you can speak to it. I'm not condemning that it's wrong. It's not wrong. The durability is also a factor. But then for the purpose of our study, let's concentrate on what we have here. Exactly.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So what I will advise you is that next week we'll be looking at some of these reference materials. So we'll look at what a dictionary is, the types of dictionaries, and the uses of dictionaries. So please read on them before you come. We'll talk about dictionaries and encyclopedia. So read on what dictionaries are, their types, and their uses. Exactly. Together with the encyclopedia.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Please, dictionary types and what?
I said we will look at dictionaries and encyclopedia going next week. So you
Okay, sir.
tell me what a dictionary is, then the types of dictionary, types of dictionaries and the uses of dictionaries. That's what we're going to do next week. So please just read around these areas. Exactly. Dictionaries and encyclopedia. So the same thing applies to what an encyclopedia is, types of encyclopedia, then the uses of encyclopedia. It's not difficult. Just read on them so that when we come, you already have the idea. Then we can move. Because time is fast spent. Because very soon I'll be moving faster.
Yes, sir.
Because we just started. I don't want to.
Yes.
Exactly. All right. So all the best, and may the good Lord take care of all of us. All right. All the best.
Amen. Amen.
Come again. I was saying something about
assignment. Individual.
Yeah, I said go next week. I'll give you your first assignment. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
It can even be just reading assignment. I mean, dictionaries, encyclopedia, and very soon, we award marks to people who contribute in class. Some people will not talk. We have marks for that. So when we come to online lectures like this, some people will refuse to talk. They will even join, but then they will not.
Please.
Please, if you know you are part of them, and you are looking for marks. So please, it's good that when we come, we all have a nice discussion so that you get understanding better. Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Amen.
Amen.
All right.
All right, sir.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dominic.
Hey, bossman.
Dominic.
What's next? Oh, what's next?
Face no waba.
Mr. Wambe.
Wamba. Hey. Why not so? Who are campus?
Maybe campus, so but someone is saying they are having face to face at class or cautious or what?
Okay, my question. Because my
I
dictionary
only one that was more buying.
Won't call